Welcome to my YouTube channel, Marc Harvill Art. I appreciate you tuning in and certainly ask that you please subscribe to this YouTube channel. We're going to be painting this painting called Viking Voyage, 16 by 20 inch MDF panel. This is an all acrylic painting. So I've already painted in the background, and I really just wanted to focus our time on me laying in the Viking ship. And I wanted to take a moment to express my gratitude to Kendra Lee, who asked that I please paint a Viking ship in a stormy sea. And that's where this idea came from. And I certainly appreciate any comments and would encourage you that if you have anything you'd like to watch me paint, I'm happy to take those into consideration. Now, you've noticed that I've moved out of my painting studio and I'm sitting in the kitchen right now. And the reason for that is that I'm watching a conference on TV. And actually, I'm listening to a conference on TV, and I wanted to be able to pay attention and listen to the conference, but also accomplish this painting at the same time. So I find that when I stay busy, I tend to pay attention a lot better than just simply trying to sit still. So what I'm doing right now is I've mixed together a dioxazine purple with a little blue, a little burnt umber, and just a slight amount of carbon black. And I've created this really kind of dark grayish tone. And this is what I'm using just to really outline and silhouette the underpainting for this ship. So I'm trying to just kind of bring this in following my lines that I've kind of drawn on here. And I'll go over this a couple times because I want to kind of start removing some of the brush strokes after it dries, and I'll put another layer of paint and maybe even a third coat as well. But I want to get a really good covering on this, and I want to make sure that I can remove those brush strokes and ensure that I don't have a lot of that background sky showing through on this underpainting. But I first wanted just to get this all kind of laid in, and then we're going to use this underpainting of this dark purple coat that we have for this Viking ship, and that's going to serve us really well as we start to lay in a few details and some minor highlights. The idea, though, is that this ship will be kind of cresting this large wave, and the sun is glowing from behind in the background, and therefore we're not going to have an enormous amount of detail. We're going to have a lot more kind of a dark, subtle silhouette of this ship kind of cresting this wave. So in order to get my straight lines, I'm using this painter's blade that just allows me to kind of get a little bit more straight lines that I need for the mast and for these sails. And I just encourage using the tools you have. Use help aids if you need to. It's hard to avoid having kind of a bit of a shaky, unsteady hand. We all tend to have a bit of unsteadiness. So I'm very happy to be able to use any tools that I can to achieve that. And specifically, as I start to paint in all of the cables that are running along the ship, you'll see me use my acrylic paint pen which is a great tool, and I love that tool, and I'm using it right now as a matter of fact. So this is my acrylic paint pen. Purchased this at Walmart in their craft section. I just discovered these about a year ago, and I thought, wow, that might be kind of handy, and they're very, very handy to use this, and so but it's acrylic paint, and very handy for drawing these nice fine straight lines. So just using my little ruler here, my little straight edge, and I can just kind of draw in all these cables. And I find this much easier than trying to use a rigger brush or a script liner brush. It's just, again, it's hard to kind of create those nice straight edges using those types of brushes. So, but I like to use whatever tools I can to kind of simplify the process along. And you've probably seen in past videos I've also used the felt tip pen. Felt tip pens are very handy as well, and I'll use those from time to time too if I'm trying to create some very fine, thin lines. So right now I'm just wanting to get this all laid in, kind of get my shapes all figured out, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that same purple pile of paint, which is purple, brown, blue, and black, but predominantly a little more purple, and I'm going to change the value just slightly by adding some titanium white, which is what I've already done. So I'm now kind of coming in with my small 18/0 round brush with a very thin head, very fine tip, and I've gone in and I've adjusted my value with the titanium white, gone into that same dark mixture, lightened it up a little bit, and now I can start kind of laying in some very subtle highlights here on the mast, and then specifically working into the head of this dragon that is on the front of the ship here. So again, this is supposed to be a Viking ship. Now, I didn't realize while I was shooting this video, but the kitchen that I'm working in, it's pretty bright. It's got a lot of lights in there, and I think it became so bright that I have a bit of glare appearing on my MDF board. So I apologize for that. And I am using MDF board. I really enjoy painting on MDF. And if you've not done so, what I personally did was I went to Home Depot and I had them take a large sheet of MDF board and they cut it down to specific sizes I asked for. In this case, I asked for a 16 by 20. Got multiple 16 by 20s cut from one large board that I purchased. Much cheaper than buying individual canvases doing it that way. And you can watch my past video on me preparing an MDF board. If you've not seen that already, please check out my YouTube channel, and you'll find preparing an MDF board. So I'm using this MDF. It's nice and smooth, and it's very, very easy to paint on. So that's what we're working on today. It's a little bit heavier than canvas, but not terribly heavier, much heavier. So it works. So now I'm just kind of bringing in some subtle highlights, some little lines, some texture throughout the ship, just to kind of create a little bit of shape and form. And this ship, because it's mostly in silhouette, I'm not going to put an enormous amount of detail into it, but just enough to kind of give it that subtlety. Okay, so I'm continuing here, just adding in, I'm using the same light purple mixture. And this ship will not have a lot of color to it. I'll add just a little bit of subtle coloration into the sail, but really for the most part it's a fairly simplified palette that I'm using. I've mixed kind of a gold color here with purple and orange to create this kind of dark orangish color, and just putting a little bit of color into the sails, and that's about the extent of that. So didn't really need to have too complex of a palette for this one. All right, so now that I've painted that in, I'm going to come back and use my black acrylic pen. Start drawing in all the rest of these cables that are kind of holding the ship together, holding the mast up, and all the sails and so forth. And I went ahead and have to kind of wipe away my little blade that I was using. Kind of ended up bumping a little bit, and I kind of messed my line up there. So the nice thing is if you can get to it quick enough, you can take some water and you can wipe it right away, and you can start over again. But you got to make sure to do that pretty quickly. These pens tend to dry fairly fast because they are acrylic, but it's nice that you can correct a mistake pretty quickly. So go ahead and try to complete this now that we've painted in most of the ship. I will go back here and use an airbrush and kind of soften up and add a little bit of mist around the base of the ship. But for now, I just wanted to first kind of lay all this in real quick here, and then we can go and I can move into the use of the airbrush briefly. And I like the airbrush. It produces some very nice soft texture on the painting, and I really enjoy using it for that purpose. So now this is kind of a matter of just some simple refinement now. I'm kind of adding and ad-libbing kind of as I go. Now I'm coming back with my white acrylic pen. I wanted to get a nice silver lining. This is the section of the ship closest to this source of light here, this sunburst, that's kind of behind the ship and kind of peeking below the clouds. We've got kind of a stormy cloud, a little bit of lightning, but it's very nice and easy. You can certainly do this with the script liner brush, but again, I'm taking kind of the lazy man's way out on this, and just using this acrylic white paint pen that does the trick very nicely. And I can get the same exact effect, but I have a lot more control and handle with this tool over trying to use a script liner brush. And these types of pens, you have to shake them, and you've got to kind of coax the paint into the kind of that spongy head on this pen, but you know, it can tend to kind of run out, and you might have to put the cap back on and give it a good shake. And then I use a little dabble board just to get the paint flowing, which is really the only kind of drawback, I guess, to using these pens. But for the most part, they work very nicely, and as I said, I just picked these up from the craft section at Walmart, so they work out pretty good. So now we've kind of got this kind of laid in. I'm kind of bringing in some. I've got to seat the ship for one thing. Again, it's cresting over the top of this wave, so I'm kind of bringing in a little bit of some of the crashing water around the base of the ship now, and I've just mixed together a pale blue using white and ultramarine blue, and I added just a little bit of umber to kind of gray it out, and then I could just kind of start feeding that around the base of the ship, and that kind of seats the ship into the water a little bit better. And then once I get all that kind of worked in, and I'll be ready to bring in my airbrush. But I'm really just kind of dotting. I'm trying to create that texture of splashing, crashing water, just simply by loading my brush, my bristle brush, and kind of just dotting on the paint, kind of create a little bit of texture, almost like a stippling effect, really, is what I'm trying to do here. And again, I apologize for the glare. That's unfortunate that happened. It kind of makes it hard to really kind of see what I'm trying to do here. But for the most part, this is kind of the process I like to take when painting objects like this, specifically with this type of mood. It's a darker painting. Again, it's kind of a stormy painting, tumultuous ocean, kind of darkish, but we've got this bright sun source that's kind of peeking below the cloud line and above the horizon, and so it kind of creates for an interesting effect, I think, for the painting. So I'm just painting in some fire now. Wanted to have kind of a bit of a light source, and put a little fire into kind of a controlled, I guess, fire that we have them in on board the ship, are using as a light source. So of course, being a Viking painting, kind of medieval, they would use fire as a light source, or candles or lamps. Very, very common and pretty normal for that age and time. Okay, so I'm kind of painting in some oars now. Because it's a kind of a stormy painting. Of course, the sailor's not going to be using their sails, so they're going to be kind of using their paddles and kind of rowing the ship along, and that's kind of what I'm trying to paint in here right now, is just some nice straight lines with my paint pens, and that kind of gives the indication or illusion that we've got some oars that are propelling the Viking ship along. I'm just kind of coming back and adding a little bit more layer on top of the crashing wave, some foam from the ocean, and work that in here, just changing the value subtly with a little bit more titanium white added to that blue mixture. And you just kind of want to jump around, make sure you don't have solid masses of color. Use that underpainting a lot, and just kind of skip around. You're going to get a better effect doing it that way. So ironically enough, the last week or two I've had a couple different people comment that I should do a Viking ship. And I don't know if that's because the new TV series on the Vikings came out. That's probably a possibility, but it does make for an interesting subject, and I really enjoy painting ships, so I took those recommendations and decided to produce this piece right here. So again, I'm always happy to receive your comments, and if there's something you'd like to see, I certainly appreciate you sharing that in the video comment section below. And I like to take those ideas and generate my interpretation. And this is my interpretation. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.